I call it a nightmare because that's what it was. It was just living a nightmare. And you can't do anything about it. You can't wake up from it. You just have to live through it. I ended up having a heart attack in the process, and I had to live through it. And not for 1 year, not for 2 years. I lived through it for 3 years. I am a single mum. I have 5 children. They range from 16 to 7. I'm a single mum. I'm a working mum. So I have a part-time job, quite a humble job. I work as an admin assistant for a small business. I've been doing that for many years. In my case, it was counter-terrorism police that made this referral to the children's services, hence why children's services got involved. The referral was an allegation that the children were being subjected to being radicalised. There was a fear that these children are being radicalised, and this was under the category of emotional harm. Children were being visited by 2 counter-terrorism police officers and a social worker at their school. And if I can just say, it was a primary school. The school failed to tell me immediately that they were present. So by the time I was notified, 2 of my children had already been interviewed by counter-terrorism police and the lead social worker. I went ballistic, stormed into the head teacher's office, and then after that, that was the big intro. A very horrible way to know that children's services are showing an interest. So it's nothing that I have said or done, or nothing that the children have said or done. It is the arena of not knowing whether these children are at risk of radicalisation. Quite ridiculous, really. Yeah. So because they don't know, this is the reason why they wanted me to do this work with Prevent, so they could know. There was no respite during Ramadan. There was no respite during Eid. There was no chill time. They had to be in the know-how all the time. It was almost like if my kids fell or had an accident, instead of me worrying about, oh, is there a scratch or a bruise, let mummy make it better, it was almost like, oh my God, I wonder what the social worker will think of this. It was like that. My son became very violent. He became a negative attention seeker. He would hide under the bed when the social worker would come. The old one, having her own difficulties, she became very stressed out. I mean, she ended up being hospitalised herself and diagnosed with Crohn's disease during this time. One thing they used to do is the younger 2 used to role play. One would be the social worker, one would be a police, one would be the child, one would be mummy, and they'll say things like, I'm going to report you, I'm going to take you away, I'm going to report you. They'll role play, they'll enact what is happening in the reality into their play. When I started seeing that, I thought, oh, this is psychologically damaging. It was just a horrible, I call it a nightmare because that's what it was. It was just living a nightmare. And you can't do anything about it. You can't wake up from it. You just have to live through it. And I had to live through it. And not for 1 year, not for 2 years. I lived through it for 3 years. I ended up having a heart attack in the process. That's how long the process was. And, it hospitalised me. It's left me with a damaged heart that I'm going to have surgery for. There's no apologies. There's no, consequences to their actions. Obviously, for me, fighting them and resisting them, for me it was resisting some kind of evil, some kind of like munkar, something wrong. It was clearly wrong what they were doing to me and my children and my family. Resist, keep resisting, keep fighting. Don't give up.